There are thousands of productivity tactics out there, and I've spent 2 years experimenting with almost every tip possible. After countless failures and successes, I've built a system that actually works. And in this video, I'm going to share what I learned. And the most important tip is that you don't need to overcomplicate things. When it comes to your productivity, there are only 3 core fundamentals. First is your mental foundation. You need to actually want to do the work. And it's going to be easier when I explain it later. The second foundation is your systems, how you organize your work. And the third foundation is physical. You need to maintain your body properly. And we're going to start with mental because 90% of problems are just mental problems when it comes to productivity. You need to be familiar with basic dopamine management techniques. It's the hormone accountable for the reward system in our brain. The key is keeping your base dopamine low and stable. If you want to do more work, just don't overstimulate yourself with video games, junk food, or social media. That's simple and almost everyone knows that, but sometimes you need to be reminded more than you need to be taught. Let's imagine 2 people. One just wakes up and checks his phone and, I don't know, bets on Polymarket a large sum of money. His dopamine instantly spikes. And the other is just waking up and goes straight to work. Of course, the second one will get a lot more things done. That's why you need to keep your dopamine stable as much as possible and keep it low so your brain will be stimulated enough just from working. Because if you will bet large sums of money or trade crypto with leverage or doing stupid stuff like playing video games, your brain will be stimulated so much that you will never concentrate on something significant like your work. For example, for me to make this video, I need to be concentrated. I need to keep my dopamine kind of low. So I will get enough fulfillment from just working, from just recording this video. Understanding how dopamine works is essential if you want to stay productive. But here's the hard truth about getting things done. It's pretty painful, and it's going to be painful all the time. I can give you an example of programming. Sometimes I develop some stuff, and programming is just problem solving. You encounter some problems and you need to solve them. And most of the time you don't want to solve anything. You just think that it's too hard, it's too complicated. But if you actually sit in pain and give yourself enough time to understand the problem, you will solve it. And it turns out that this problem is not that hard as you previously thought it was. If you strongly decide to sit in pain until you get the thing done, then you will get the thing done. And the same with everything. The scariest part, the hardest part of every job is to decide to sit in pain until you get the thing done. You soon realize that even doing the thing is not that scary as you thought it was. So if you want to stay productive, you need to be diving in pain constantly and not avoiding the struggle. There is always some kind of resistance no matter what you do. For example, I'm doing YouTube for almost 2 years and the struggle is not gone. There's always some kind of resistance. After we covered the mental game, we need to compose a system of how we organize our work. The next tip that helped me a lot is themed days system. It's going to be helpful especially if you have several projects you need to do. Basically, you just pick something and dedicate your entire day to it. For example, I have several projects. I have my YouTube, I have my website, I have Twitter, I have programming courses. And if you're going to do all of this on the same day, it's just not possible. For example, on Mondays, I learn how to program. On Tuesdays, I program. On Wednesdays, I make content. On Thursdays, I write. So you get the point. You need to pick something and dedicate your entire day for it, especially if you have several projects. That's going to help you tremendously. I discovered it by observing Elon Musk. He has several companies, but how he manages several companies? By using team days. Monday and Tuesday he's in Tesla, Wednesday and Thursday he's on SpaceX, and so on and so on. Because to solve something on your projects, in your businesses, you need to dive deeper. And that's why you need to dedicate the entire day, a couple of hours at least, to work on a problem. Not just some Pomodoro technique cute stuff. 20 minutes there, 20 minutes in another place. It doesn't work like that. Your brain works kind of like CPU, kind of like a computer processor. It executes tasks one at a time. And the best decision you can make is to do less stuff. Actually, a lot of productivity advice is bullshit. You don't need to be doing more. You need to be doing less, but more concentrated. And most of the time you need to sacrifice the things you maybe love for the things you love more. And there's a pretty good book about it called Essentialism. The next tip is to have a simple checklist for a day, no more than 5 tasks in accordance with the Team Day system. And for that I use a Todoist app or a Google spreadsheet. Or you can just take a paper and pen and write your tasks there. Doesn't matter. What matters most is that you have some kind of a plan for a day. And the psychology of checking things off is really simple. You just want to avoid the feeling of missing out. You don't want to skip tasks because you wrote them down. And also checking boxes incentivizes your brain's reward system, your dopamine system. And you get dopamine in a productive way just by accomplishing stuff and checking off these boxes. The next important thing is to simplify your life and have some kind of a schedule. For example, I wake up almost at the same time every day. I eat at the same time every day. I train at the same time. You need to have some kind of a schedule. And don't worry, it doesn't need to be ideal schedule. You can always change stuff. Just write down your perfect day, your most productive day. How many hours you're working, how many hours you're sleeping, how many hours you're eating and exercising. You need to have some kind of structure, and it's so much more freeing actually to have a schedule. It's counterintuitive, but you actually have more time because you've composed a schedule. Also, you need to be optimizing your environment. You need to change it so your work becomes easier and your bad habits become hard to do. For example, a couple of months ago, I bought an Amazon Kindle. And because reading became a lot more easier than just reading physical books, I now read more. The same thing with work. If you have nice equipment, for example, you will want to work. Or with bad habits, if you have your PlayStation 5 in your room, of course you will play more. Or if you have unhealthy food in your fridge. And the last foundation is physical. The tips are going to be especially useful if you don't have enough energy to do the work. The first tip is kind of underrated, is cortisol control. It's how you relieve your stress. I'll give you an example. My least productive day is Saturday. Because of what? Because I have a boxing sparring that day. And if you've been in the ring, you will understand me. It's a very stressful event, both mentally and physically. Every sparring session is uncomfortable. It's nerve-wracking. I get punched in the head. I sometimes get knocked out by a liver shot. It is so stressful that I can't stay productive for the rest of the day because of how much stress I've accumulated in a short period of time. And you need to control how much stress you take on your mind and your body. Most people will benefit from one day off, especially if you're an entrepreneur. Or some entrepreneurs even take weeks off. For example, Bill Gates is taking a week off every 6 months. It's the time when he spends in a remote location. His colleagues can reach him and he just reads stuff or thinks deeply about the things. Because if you grind all the time continuously without taking any days off, your worldview just narrows. Sometimes you need to detach, sometimes you need to be lazy to gain a new perspective. Every good idea I ever had came from laziness. From the time I was avoiding the work because I was stressed. That's the time I had the best revelations ever. So the rest is equally important as your work. Of course, you need to be doing stuff, but sometimes you need to take a pause. You don't need to be attacking your nervous system all the time. For example, overtraining. Overtraining is not that useful. Recently, I watched Dr. Mike from Renaissance Periodization, and he said that even 3 reps in reserve is beneficial for your muscle growth. You don't need to be going 100% every time in every set. And the same thing with productivity, with your work. You need to be somewhat shy of your barrier. Don't work at 100% all the time. Have some energy in your reserves. Because the most important thing in entrepreneurship or in sports is actually longevity. When it comes to competition, you don't really need to overwork them. Sometimes you need to overlive them. You need to be consistent, most importantly. And the way to be consistent is to have some energy in reserves. You need to build a healthy relationship with work. Of course, most of the people are lazy, and the advice of David Goggins is beneficial for them. But the people that watch this kind of content, kind of educational content, not that dopamine stimulating content, need to be sometimes more relaxed that they are. And my system for resting is just 1 hour wind down before sleeping. I just read my Amazon Kindle. That helps me to relax and sleep better. And sleep is maybe the most important thing when it comes to your health. So don't neglect your sleep. Don't work till night. I made a mistake recently. I worked till 1 a.m. And of course, because of that, 2 days after, I was not that productive just because my sleep schedule was kind of fucked. And if you work too much one day, the next day you will be a lot more lazier. Just trust me, it's how it works. The productivity debt is kind of real. The thing that is taken to extreme will become its opposite. If you are too disciplined, you become lazy later. Or if you are too lazy, you become disgusted with yourself and you become disciplined again. Just don't be in these extremes. Try to be consistent every day. And that's how you win, actually. When it comes to sleep optimization, that's really simple. You just need to go to sleep at the same time every day. Doesn't matter if it's Monday or Sunday. Every day at the same time. And it doesn't really matter at what time you are waking up. I don't even use an alarm clock no more. Because I think you need to be waking up kind of naturally. Your body will adjust to its needs. Sometimes you need to sleep for 8 hours, sometimes you need to sleep for 10 hours. You need to give your body enough rest. Because if you do enough work, you're always stressing it out. And you need to rest and recover. And because of your recovery, you will work better. Also, you shouldn't be using caffeine 8 hours before sleep. That's really it. Go to bed at the same time and limit your caffeine 8 hours before sleep. That's the Pareto rule, the 20 to 80% principle. The 80% is just these two tips. You don't need to be doing anything fancy. I had an Oura ring before, I had all this different stuff, I tried different supplements. You don't need to be doing that. Just have a consistent sleeping schedule. The next thing you need to be optimizing is your food and supplements. You need to be eating healthy food, and everyone knows what healthy food is. Mostly I eat meat and fruits. I don't eat a large amount of carbohydrates, I don't eat sugar, and I don't drink alcohol. And when it comes to your diet, if you're still drinking, you need to stop. Even if you're drinking once a week, it's detrimental to your productivity. There is a huge difference between a person who drinks even once a week and the person who doesn't drink. To reinforce my point, recently Pavel Durov, the CEO of Telegram, the founder of Telegram, one of the largest apps, you maybe know him, wrote in his blog post that the most important tip for any founder, for every entrepreneur, if you want to build something great, you shouldn't drink ever. Because alcohol is really detrimental to your productivity and to your overall well-being. It is the scary drug that became normalized. A lot of people just ruin their lives with it. So if you want to build stuff, if you want to be productive, just stay healthy as much as possible. When it comes to exercising, you just need to try being active. That's it. Just 3 times a week will be enough, but I train 6 times a week. I was training every day before, but I just found that it's not that great for me. I just accumulate a lot of stress from it if I don't have 1 day off per week. So I ended up sticking with 6 times a week. I go to the gym 3 times a week and I go boxing 3 times a week. And for me, it's the sweet spot. You need to be experimenting with this stuff so it suits you. For example, you don't really like the gym, then pick up boxing or running or swimming, whatever. Just stay active at least 3 days a week and you will be fine. That's really it. Remember that you don't need to be overcomplicating stuff. You just have 3 foundations: mental, systematic, and physical. That's it. You need to be optimizing them and focus on your weakest spot. For example, if your mental game is not on point, you need to be focusing on your mental game. And that's really it. Thank you for watching. If you want to continue to watch my videos further, click this video right now. See ya.